just yet. So, what's up, guys? So, Frank and Whitney, your husband and wife duo team over here at Geeky Gecko Creations. Thank you for everyone who's waiting in the lobby. Shout out to Luna Geckos. Whoa.
Sorry, YouTube has a mind of its own. YouTube started playing on their computer.
So, shout out to Luna Geckos. He's in the chat and hurried us up to get in here. But today, I'm cleaning reptiles, answering your questions. We're going to talk about care. We're going to talk about breeding, the hobby, the future of the hobby, other breeders in the hobby, anything that happens to come up. I'm also going to show off our really cool geckos as I clean. And this is how I'm going to do it. Whitney is going to read off questions to me so that this thing can flow and that I can answer questions while showing cool geckos. So please drop your questions as they come and we will get started. So thanks, hon. If you can monitor that computer, that'd be great. And then I'm going to start with some cleaning and showing off geckos. What's going on, Matthew?
My cat stole my seat.
Yeah, Whitney's going to be over here helping. So you can unpause it, mute the volume, and then unpause it there or play it. Mute the volume.
Okay.
And then you can see chats live here. So Whitney's going to help me with the questions today. That way I don't have to spend time looking and I can just show off geckos. So what are we cleaning today, or what do I have more to clean today? Okay, cool. We're looking at babies, which is really cool because we're going to see some of our really cool productions that we make this year. So, here's your water, hon. What's going on?
Jaylee's dog died.
Oh no, that is sad. That would be tough. Dogs are kind of like, that's like big on the animal scale, right? So.
Yeah.
Oh, are the sprinklers on?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Can you imagine if Effie died?
Could I imagine if Effie died? No, that would be very sad. We did lose a dog. Remember Louie? We did lose a family dog last year or like the year before that. And it was sad. So I'm so sorry, Jay Lee. We'll be here for you tonight, just talking geckos and being a support for you. Help you get through it. What kind of dog was he or she?
I should probably turn off the sprinklers. Sound will get in the way.
It should go away. It's going to go away in like 8 minutes. So it'll be all right if you want to leave it on. Because that sprinkler system is on an 8-minute timer. Okay, so more than 5 poos. We're going to go ahead and change this substrate here. So Luna Geckos, let's see. He said he was going to be in there listening. And I'm trying to think where I've seen him lately. No, I've been watching, who is it? Palmetto State Geckos. And I guess he knows you, Luna. Palmetto State Geckos. I guess he's on your Discord and he helps answer questions. Well, he's doing some pretty cool stuff right now. He's interviewing like Jay from Echo Geckos. He's interviewing JMG, I think Jeff from JMG Reptile. And I'm listening to all his podcasts and stuff. So if you guys are looking for... Oh, sorry, I wasn't showing the gecko. If you guys are looking for some really cool podcast interview type leopard gecko content to watch, go over to Palmetto State Geckos. He's interviewing some of the top people in the hobby right now. People that I haven't even gotten an interview with yet. So it's pretty cool, and it's a good listen. If you're driving or trying to go to sleep or whatever the case is, he's got some good conversations with all of those guys. So what's going on, Ashley, Aaron, everybody? Whitney's going to kind of DJ for me over here.
Yeah, Cameron, we really, really like Arizona. I'm not sure if you're saying San Diego is expensive or Arizona is expensive, but I mean, yeah, my family, we moved from California. One of the reasons being it was just ridiculously expensive. I wouldn't recommend buying a house right now, Arizona is pretty good for renting.
Oh, is he asking about moving to Arizona?
Yeah.
So, what you can do too, Hun, I noticed that this helps a lot. When someone asks a question, read their name, read the question, and then we'll answer. Because that way, like anyone who doesn't read and is just listening to the audio, they'll know what the question is. And I'm guilty of not doing that, so I've started to try to hold myself accountable to do it. So.
Matthew said, I had a gecko bite me and draw blood for the first time ever in 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm no stranger to that.
Yeah, for some reason, the geckos like biting Whitney. Now, Hun, remember when we had Mac, the blizzard leopard gecko, and he started to catch an attitude all the time?
Yeah.
So we used to have this blizzard leopard gecko, and I kid you not, this leopard gecko would bite and thrash on your finger, and he would also do multiple biting. And so it would definitely cause you to bleed, and it was not a fun experience. So we don't have him anymore, but that was sort of like my one experience about geckos that bite. Not many geckos bite me, but
Robbie S says, what supplements do you use?
okay, I'll show you the supplements right now. So probably I would say the number one recommended supplement that most people used to use for calcium is something called Osteoform SA, because this stuff was used by Ron Tremper. It was used by a lot of the older breeders that were getting into breeding leopard geckos in the early 2000s to mid 2000s. It was really great stuff. A lot of them still swear by it. I watched an interview recently with John from Gecko Boa, who's one of the top 5 leopard gecko breeders in the world right now, and he prefers Osteoform SA as his calcium supplement. But here's the problem. Osteoform SA has been sold out everywhere. Whether you go to a veterinary place or Amazon or a website, you can't get this stuff anywhere. So I changed over my supplementary diet recently. I'll show you what I do now. I use this stuff for calcium. It's called ReptiCalcium. It's readily available on Amazon. And if you do not use UVB bulbs, you'll definitely want to get the calcium with D3. So, in addition to that, I will do 1 scoop of calcium for every 1 scoop of vitamins. And so here's the vitamins that I still use, which is Vionate for pets. I'll just do 1 scoop of Vionate for every 1 scoop of ReptiCalcium, and seems to work out as a really good replacement for me right now.
Yeah. Wow, Jacob's been doing his grandma's floor for 9 hours, and he's gonna take a break to watch us.
Oh, nice. I don't know if you're gonna get back to it tonight, Jacob. What normally happens to me when I take a break from hard construction labor is if I try to go back to it, I tend to call it a night. Unless it's leopard gecko stuff. Whitney knows, my wife knows that sometimes I'll be out at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night building cages outside for the Tegus and using loud power tools and stuff. But it's cool because all my neighbors do it. They all have their own little quirks, right? So some of my neighbors, they have stuff above the wall. They have loud dogs and stuff. So I figure, hey, if we're dealing with their stuff, they're not going to mind dealing with our stuff. And so far, whoa, we haven't had any issues. Did you see that gecko fly? This gecko is supermaning it right now. This is one of our, I don't think it's a Gen 4. I'm not sure. This might be a Gen 4. I'd have to look up the parents of this. But this is a Lemon Frost Frosty Turk. Some people have actually been asking us about the lemon frost project, and I'm gonna do a whole video dedicated to it soon. And they were asking about if any geckos are available. So here's my thing with the lemon frost is the gene is going to be worked with. The geckos are out there. People can get their hands on them. So in my opinion, if you can come up with a better way to breed the gene or a safer way to breed the gene, then that will be a great plus for people who do want the option of having a lemon frost gecko or even breeding a lemon frost gecko if they can do it in a way that is mitigating towards all the problems and issues that are known to happen, with the lemon frost before in the past. So yeah, we will be making them available little by little. I'm still kind of thinking of when that time is going to be, but we have a ton of Generation 4s. So Generation 4 lemon frosts are 94% pure Turkmenicus, and they're looking really good, but they're all under a year old. And so we have like 30 of them, and I would really like to study them at a year old and more than a year old to see if they develop any suspicious spotting or anything like that,
Apex Gecko says, I feel like lizards are the punk teens of the gecko world. They also say, I do half of the mealworms in calcium and half in vitamins. Is that good, or should I change what I'm doing?
So who was asking that?
Apex Geckos.
Oh, Apex. Can you explain that a little bit more in detail, Apex? When you say you do half in vitamins, half in calcium, do you mean that you have two separate bowls? If so, I would suggest mixing it in one bowl, a 1-to-1 ratio in here, and just using that to pour on top of the mealworms in one bowl.
Hi, Brenda. No, Brooke's not here tonight. It's Whitney.
Brooke's busy now. She's got a new dog. She's got a new job, so we can celebrate for Brooke. She got promoted at her work to manager. So she's a great person to be manager. She really cares about all the animals and reptiles and make sure that people are educated before they make a purchase, especially about reptiles, because reptiles are an impulse buy. I mean, we can't lie to ourselves. Reptiles are an impulse buy.
Especially for you.
Especially for me. But thankfully, I've been in long enough where I kind of know the care, or I can easily find out the care of like any reptile species. But this brand new kid that's just walking into Petco or PetSmart, he sees this little leopard gecko for $30 or crested gecko for $60. He's gonna buy that thing and not even think twice about the care. He's gonna figure it out later. That's just what happens, right? So because reptiles are impulse buys, Brooke will oftentimes quiz people at the register to make sure they know what to expect with the gecko. So anyway, congratulations to Brooke, but she's going to be a little bit busier now than she was before, and we'll see what happens because she's going back to school, but her work is supposed to they're supposed to work with her on going back to school and be complimentary to her in school. So I don't know how much Brooke's going to be able to get over here. But oh, by the way, this just made me think about it because I got to ask Brooke, but we secured a table at the November Phoenix Reptile Expo. So I bought a table, hun. So I was thinking you could manage the Dumerals boa, maybe Brooke could manage the Tegu, and then I could manage the leper gecko and sails. And then my dad maybe could help. But if anyone's in the Phoenix area, we do have one table that we will be vending at the Phoenix Reptile Expo. We'll have a bunch of leper geckos there for sale, some crested geckos, probably some tegus. We're also going to have our big Dumerals boa that we like to bring for interaction with people, and our big sweetheart black and white tegu Rex that we'll have as well. So pretty cool stuff. Definitely looking forward to that. In the future, I would like to get a lot of tables, like 2 or 3 tables, so we could set up our banner and have like a big, setup, like a big, nice looking location. But you got to start somewhere, right? And we're really just in the growth stages of our business and potential. So I'm excited though to get that table.
Apex says, I have 2 bowls with the different supplements in each one. I typically feed around 12 to 20 mealworms each time, so I divvy them up evenly.
Now, Apex, are you altering days? So, for example, do you feed mealworms with calcium on one day and then mealworms with vitamins on the next day? Or do you just put both bowls in there at the same day? My recommendation would still be, this is just my recommendation, would be to get one bowl like this, mix your calcium with vitamins in a container, and then sprinkle over the mealworms in one bowl. That would be my recommendation. And I do this once a week for the leper geckos. So for you guys that have smaller collections, you could give a smaller amount of mealworms every couple days if you want, because it's fun to feed the geckos fresh and, you know, see them eating and all that kind of stuff, or crickets, whatever you happen to use. But as a breeder, I need to eliminate the time of feeding every single day. So we only feed once a week. We give the geckos an appropriate amount of mealworms that will last them for a week. This, I'm actually going to add a little bit more since there's 2 geckos here. But this is an appropriate amount of mealworms that will last these 2 geckos for a week. I will put it in their tub, and they will be good to go.
Pablo Bonilla from
Puerto Rico in the
he
house.
says, do you work with enigmas?
Boricua. What's his name say?
Bonilla.
So I had a really bad experience with one Enigma leper gecko that I had. The leper gecko was not able to survive on its own. It would spin around in circles and eventually starved itself to death. So I had a really bad experience with Enigma. So I don't currently work with Enigma. But what I do work with is a gene called lemon frost, which has its own health issues, skin tumors, but we are outcrossing those leper geckos to clean up that bloodline, and we're seeing drastic, if not completely reduced, skin tumor issues or skin tumor production. But this research is we're only 4 years into this research right now, and so the research is ongoing. As time goes on, I might want to try the same thing with the Enigma gene. Taking the Enigma and breeding it into wild type pure bloodlines so that we can clean up maybe some erroneous areas of the Enigma's DNA and create lines of Enigma that are healthier and more sustainable.
Oh, thanks for dropping in, Derek. He says he was going to discuss some stuff, but he's got to get his kid into bed for school in the morning. So
okay.
He'll catch us later.
Yeah, catch me later, Derek. Message us privately. You know, I'll definitely get back to you as soon as I can.
Robbie S. says, when is the expo?
The expo is, so it's in November, I believe. Hun, can you open up a new window and can you search Phoenix Reptile Expo? I believe it's like November 17th and 18th out here. It's actually not even in Phoenix. It's in a city called Mesa, but they call it the Phoenix Reptile Expo because it sounds more notable, you know, because more people know what Phoenix is and compared to Mesa. Sorry, Mesa. Oh, whoops, I'm not showing you guys the gecko here. You gotta call me out if I'm not showing the gecko.
November 20th through the 21st.
Okay, so it's November 20th and November 21. That's going to be the date of the expo. So my wife and I will be there. Hopefully Brooke will be able to make it. Probably my dad and my mom. It's really cool to get the whole family out there. And that's kind of the vision that I have for Geeky Gecko Creations is... the vision that I have is sort of like a family-owned business, you know, a business that I could potentially offer to pass on to our kids one day, a business that we can own and operate potentially with my cousin and also my, you know, financial business investor and partner that, you know, really helped us get going and and focus on this full time, you know, so just kind of seeing where things go. But man, I definitely want to build a reptile park though. Like that's in my heart to have a facility that you can come to here, and you could see like our genetic side of things, our breeding operation, but also have a large outdoor interactive reptile environment for large snakes and tegus, pythons, boas, crocodiles, caiman, all that kind of stuff. So kind of like a reptile zoo park, you know. So
All right. Jason B says, "Have you ever shipped to Michigan?"
probably we can definitely ship nationwide. So anywhere you need shipping, we can ship. Now, I meant to make a video on this, but I've just been talking to each customer individually. FedEx has been having a lot of shipping delays recently. And what that means is a gecko should technically get to your house within 12 hours of me dropping it off at FedEx. But FedEx has been 24, 48, and in rare cases, 72 hours late for delivering packages. Now, we use something called Cryo Packs. It heats up the container when the container is too cold, and it cools down the container when the container is too warm. So Cryo Packs will keep your animals safe for a long time, many, many days. I would even venture to say weeks. They could stay in there and they'll still be alive. So the issue is not safety of the animal. The main issue is the customer's time frame and patience. Because if a customer stays home from work because they're expecting the animal that day, and then the animal doesn't come, now it's frustrating that the animal didn't come, right? So what I'm telling all the customers right now is I'm with you 100%. I'm on the phone calling FedEx. I'm looking at tracking with you every single night to keep you updated that if your package is on time, late, or whatever the case is. Now, here's the good thing about packages that have been late. FedEx has been honoring a shipping return refund. What does that mean? You pay me $50 for shipping because I pay FedEx $50 for shipping. If FedEx is 24 hours late with your package, I can request for FedEx to refund the $50 that I paid them for shipping. If they refund that $50, which so far is 5 out of 5, the 5 times it's happened, I've gotten 5 refunds so far, and I got a couple refunds in the making right now. So far, I've been able to get back 100% of the refunds for our customers for packages that arrive late. So that is a good thing. So you get your gecko, it's safe, it's healthy, it's well. Yes, it's 24 hours late, but a couple weeks later when FedEx returns the money to me, I've been able to give the customers back a nice incentive of $50. So you get $50 back.
All right. Kaden says, "Mabuhay."
Oh, Filipino.
Um,
I don't remember what mabuhay means, but kamusta, that means hello in Filipino. Welcome. I love how the Philippines chimes in, Europe chimes in. I love it. We're just one big connected family.
Oh yeah. Rhino says, "Good morning from Germany."
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I remember Rhino from the last stream. So thank you for coming back and yeah, really cool to see you here. Germany. I'll have to learn how to say hello in Germany. German.
Brenda Grant says, "Is it easier for you to mix the calcium/vitamin mix other than allowing a dish with it in the tub?" Not sure.
So, wait, did I just give this gecko extra water? Let me see. Yeah. I think I gave it a new cup. All right. So, yes, there are 2 ways that you can give supplementation to your animals. Way number 1, you could mix it with the food in a bowl. Way number 2, you could put the food in one bowl and then the calcium and vitamins in another bowl. I personally like the calcium and the vitamins with the mealworms for two reasons. Reason number one, you don't have to worry about the gecko going two different places to get what it needs. Reason number two, the mealworms eat the calcium and the geckos eat the mealworms, and therefore the geckos are getting a sustainable amount of calcium for sure. So that's why I prefer to have a bowl with the calcium with vitamins sprinkled over it.
Ty Preston says, what kind of lay boxes do you use?
Oh, perfect. I got a gecko right here. Here's the lay box that we use right now. Let me actually show you another one we use. So there's two types of lay boxes we use. Either one of these will work. This is from the dollar store, and it is a 5-cup Tupperware container. You usually get 2 of these for $1. This is a 3-cup Tupperware container. You get 3 of them for $1. I've been experimenting whether this is big enough for the females to lay eggs, and it is. But if you want a little bit extra height, go for the 5-cup. But I would say no less than a 3-cup. This is a 3-cup egg container, or, you know, Tupperware container. It's perfect for a humid hide, and it should work. So far, it's been working perfectly fine for our experimentation of, you know, whether it's big enough for females to lay in. So, there you go.
So, speaking of lay boxes, Ashley says, how often do you replace the substrate?
That's a good question. I've heard that question asked before. I don't replace the substrate unless the gecko poos in it. And you might say, well, doesn't the substrate get dirty? In my experience, no. Eco Earth is a very clean substrate. Even if a little fungus gets, starts growing, which can happen, I just mix it around and the fungus goes away. Now, if the gecko's pooing in the Eco Earth and pooing on the sides of the humid hide, I will do one of two things. If it's really bad, I'll dump it, wash the container, and give brand new Eco Earth. If it's just like one small poo on the side, I will just, let's say it's stuck to the plastic, I will move the Eco Earth away with a fork or something. I'll move the Eco Earth away. I'll take a little napkin, I'll spray it down with some water, and just wipe the poo away, and that's it. So Eco Earth does a great job of masking the smell of the poo, as well as offering a great, I almost want to say bacteria-free zone for the geckos to rest. In my experience, you don't have to change the Eco Earth unless the animal is pooing in it. I have some Eco Earth with some of my geckos here that are probably 1 or 2 years old. They've been with the gecko. So
Jordan Macy says, do I have to pair a female leopard gecko after every clutch? Or do they lay multiple clutches after one pairing?
Great question, Jordan. So my first year breeding, I did not want to stress out the females, and I only bred females once. I would put the male with the female. As soon as I saw the lock, that was it. That's what I did basically my first and second year breeding. My third year breeding now, I'm much more comfortable with something called repairing. So here's what I do. I pair the male with the female. If I see a lock, then I will monitor that female for 2 weeks. I'll basically wait till her first clutch pops out. Once her first clutch pops out, if the clutch is fertile, I won't repair her just yet. I will let her lay the second clutch. If the second clutch is fertile, I'll repair her. If the second clutch is not fertile, I'll repair her. So basically, I repair the girl every other clutch, whether the clutch is fertile or not, or I will repair her after every infertile clutch. What do I mean by that? Let's say she lays her first clutch and it's infertile. I don't see any embryos. I will pair the male with her again. Let's say the second clutch is infertile. I will pair the male with her again. The third clutch is infertile. I will pair the male with her again. I will continue to repair her until I see a fertile clutch. Once I see a fertile clutch, I won't repair her for 2 or 3 more clutches. I hope that makes sense. So I like to take advantage of sperm count and getting as much sperm into the female throughout the season as I can to ensure as much productivity and fertile eggs as I can. Is that necessary? No. My first 2 years of breeding, I would breed a girl one time and I would get a full season of eggs. But sometimes girls lay infertile clutches, and in my mind, it's better to have more sperm inside of that leopard gecko female than less sperm. So there's my reasoning.
Cameron says, how do you identify the genetics of a baby after it's hatched, since the siblings are sometimes different?
I'm going to rinse this real quick and come back.
Okay.
Can you read that question again?
How do you identify the genetics of a baby after it's hatched, since the siblings are sometimes different?
Very good question. You guys are bringing the fire today. I love these questions. How do we identify baby leopard geckos? That question is a great question, and I get asked that a lot because it's difficult to identify baby leopard geckos sometimes, even for an experienced breeder. So the way that you identify baby leopard geckos is the same way you identify adult leopard geckos. You look for markers and signs. If I'm looking for a snow leopard gecko as an adult, I'm looking for whitish coloration. If I'm looking for snow leopard gecko as a baby, I'm looking for white coloration as a baby. Now, here's where it gets difficult is when it is impossible to know at that moment whether the gecko is showing one morph or another. Because leopard geckos do go through color changes. When a leopard gecko baby is born, it is not the same color that it's going to remain throughout its entire life. The color will change, the pattern will change, the spotting will change. All of that changes for a leopard gecko across its whole life. One of the most difficult things to tell for whether a leopard gecko is or isn't is the raptor as a baby. Because as soon as a little baby leopard gecko is born, sometimes they'll be albino, and they'll be tangerine, they'll be albino, and they'll have the reddish eyes. But the reddish eyes does not mean that they are eclipsed. That gecko might grow up, and 2-3 weeks later, you can see that the eyes are no longer red. They're starting to turn gray, or they're, one of the reasons that baby leopard gecko eyes are so difficult to judge as babies is because they're so small, and those blood vessels really accentuate the color. So you can't look at a baby with red eyes and be like, oh, that baby's an eclipse. That baby's a raptor. You have to wait a couple weeks to a month to see how the baby's pattern develops and how the baby's eye color develops over time. White and yellow is difficult to tell as a baby. Snow is pretty easy to tell. Raptor is difficult to tell as a baby. So eclipse can be difficult to tell as a baby, especially if eclipse is mixed with albino. That's when it tends to be a little bit more difficult to tell. But there are telltale signs, right? Eclipse leopard geckos have less pattern and less spotting. So if there's a baby with less pattern and less spotting, you could conclude that there's a good chance this baby's going to be eclipsed. But you have to wait until the baby is at least, I would say, a month old before you start making final conclusions.
Brenda Grant says, do you use phoenix worms?
I don't use phoenix worms, but I have heard that they are great. And so you can use them. I've heard they're good for picky eaters. I have my own way of dealing with picky eaters. It's a way that has worked tried and true for me over the last couple of years. And I had somebody asking me today. They rescued a really, really, really skinny baby leopard gecko. I mean, this gecko is on death's door, right? but the face of the leper gecko looks alert. It looks good. Here's the problem with force feeding a leper gecko. When you force food down a leper gecko's mouth, number one, you don't realize how small a leper gecko's stomach is. And you could make the gecko have a negative impact and experience and get super stressed out because you're pumping too much food into it, and so it regurgitates that food and it doesn't get the nutrients anyway. So that's reason 1 and 2. Number one, you might overfill it with food, and number two, if the gecko is stressed, it's just going to regurgitate the food and not digest the food anyway. So here's what I do. It's my favorite thing to do, right? When you're stressed out, and I hate comparing humans to geckos because we are two different creatures, but sometimes there's an overlap there. When you're stressed out, would you rather somebody be poking at you, talking to you, and asking you why you're stressed out every single second, or would you rather be left alone just to decompress and figure out what you need to figure out to get back your sanity? Most of us would probably say they want to be left alone. Well, so does your leper gecko. But how do you make sure your leper gecko eats if you're leaving it alone? Here's the best way to encourage a leper gecko to eat. You set them up in a small 6-quart tub like this, especially for a baby leper gecko. You give them one humid hide on the far side. You give them a shallow water dish like a Gatorade cap or a water bottle cap. You spray down the tub so that there's a little bit of water on the sides and water on top of the humid hide. You could have a couple holes in there for some airflow, for some fresh air, unless you have a rack system. Rack systems are great for air. There's air in and air out of rack systems. You don't need any holes in the tubs. And then, here's the kicker. Sometimes stressed out leper geckos do not want to eat from a food bowl. I'm going to say that again. Stressed out leper geckos do not want to eat from a food bowl, especially babies. And crickets and dubia roaches are very quick and they might stress the leopard gecko out. So the best way that I have found to not replenish, to rehabilitate. The best way that I found to rehabilitate small, unhealthy, or skinny geckos is to put the food on the ground in a small container, just like this. You'll dump the mealworms on the ground, and then you will dump your vitamin and calcium mix on top of the mealworms. You'll seal that container, you'll put that gecko away, and you won't bug it for 2 to 3 days. Come back in 2 to 3 days and see if that gecko is looking a little bit better. If that gecko's looking a little bit better, keep taking care of it in this same way. If the gecko is getting worse, change out its tub and do the exact same thing. If the gecko gets to a point where it's not getting better, for sure, 100%, you could try to force feed it, but in my experience, the whole force feeding thing is if the gecko's not eating food off of the floor, this is just the way I do it. If the gecko's not eating food off the floor, especially if it's a baby, I'm not going to force feed that gecko. I'm going to keep cleaning its tub, offering it fresh water and fresh food in the exact same way. And if it gets worse and worse and worse, most geckos get better. 9 out of 10 geckos will get better. But there's going to be that 1 out of 10 geckos that is just not going to make it. And if the gecko is getting worse and worse and worse, by the time 2 months goes by or so and the gecko is just getting worse and worse and worse, then you can consider humanely putting the gecko down. And if you need a couple of options, self-home remedies of putting a gecko down, message me privately. I won't plague you guys with the morbid thought of that. But as a reptile breeder, putting animals down who are on their dying breath is something that you do have to face. I give every animal 150% chance to live. I do everything I can to get that animal to live. But if it's just not in the cards for that animal to live, you're faced with the decision of letting it die naturally, a slow, agonizing death, or putting it out of its misery. So that's all I'm going to say on that topic.
Brenda says, do Leos not retain sperm like gargoyles or crusties?
No, Leos absolutely retain sperm. Leos absolutely retain sperm. And that's why it's not necessary at all to repair a leper gecko. It is not necessary at all to repair a leper gecko. I like to do it because in my human understanding, it makes sense to me that the more sperm a girl has inside of her, the more chances for fertility that she will have. And so that is why I like to repair 2 or 3 times a season at least.
Rhino says his first Von clutch was August 12th.
Von clutch.
Or his first clutch. I don't know. Maybe that's a typo.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what the Von would be in reference to, so maybe you could clarify that for us. But your first clutch, August 12th, congratulations. That is something to celebrate. I mean, I'm sure my wife can remember when we first started laying our clutch, having clutches, and it's just great. I still enjoy hatching clutches to this day. It's still like Christmas when I go into the incubator and I see little baby leper geckos. Now, here's a really great example of the fungus that I was speaking about. This is a little bit of dampened eco-earth. There's no poo in here. Usually fungus grows when there's poo. But sometimes fungus will grow if there's no poo. Do you need to swap this out? No. You could just mix it around like that. All that means is that the fungus is growing because there's not great airflow. Maybe your dirt, maybe your eco-earth was packed really, really tightly. So what you'll want to do is just mix it around just like that so that it gets porous. It gets aerated a little bit, and now it's perfect. I'm going to put it back into the gecko's tub here, and we're good to go.
And we're on commercial break.
Yes.
Rhino says, what do we think about the Agobator?
Hovabator. Hovabator. Okay, let me just show you real quick.
He says he bought it and he thinks it sucks.
Okay, let me just show you something real quick. So, as you guys can see, I was talking about special needs geckos earlier. This is a black knight. It's a very expensive leper gecko. I would like for it to grow really well. Look at Effie. I would like for it to grow really well and not have any issues. Sometimes, because black knights hatch out smaller sometimes than regular leper geckos, what you have to do for them is they don't want to eat out of a bowl. This little guy, he didn't want to eat out of a bowl. So what you got to do for these guys is pour food on the ground. Now, he's already growing and he's perfectly fine, but because he's an expensive leper gecko that I want to make sure things continue to go really well with, I'm going to take a scoop of worms just like this, and I'm going to put them at the dry corner of his tub right there. Then I'm going to take my calcium mix powder and sprinkle it over the worms. This means that he can easily get that powder if he doesn't want to use his bowl, and the worms can easily get that powder, and when he eats the worms, they will be full of nutrition for him. I still have a bowl in there, but I put worms on the ground just in case he's feeling picky one day and doesn't want to eat out of his bowl. It's a really great way to ensure the growth of your special needs leper geckos that are a little bit pickier eaters. Oh, ask me the question again, the Hovabator question.
Well, he said Agobator.
Okay, I don't know what the Agobator is. I've used Reptibator and I've used Hovabator. Hovabator is a chicken incubator for chicken eggs that farmers use. It's good. I've used it. I prefer the Reptibator. The Reptibator is digital. The Hovabator is not digital, and you could just set the temperature with any incubator that you buy. Any incubator that you buy. You want to have multiple thermometers inside of that incubator to make sure that temperature is consistent with what you're programming it to. Because with the Reptibator, all of the heat is at the top. So if you set the temperature to 90 degrees, it might be 90 degrees at the top, but the bottom might be 86 degrees. The corners might be 84 degrees. So that's why you need little thermometers to place throughout the whole incubator to monitor the temperatures. We do the same thing in this room. So in this room, which is set to 90 degrees right now, we monitor the temperature up here. Check this out. This thermometer says 85. This thermometer says 85. This thermometer on the floor says 85. Do you see how you need checks and balances? You need to back yourself up when you're trying to create a stable environment. So I would recommend going on Amazon and buying like a 5-pack of those cheap thermometers. They call them aquarium thermometers. They're waterproof, so you can put them in water if you need to, and put those inside of a fake egg container that's in your incubator so you can get an idea of the temperatures that container is processing, right? And then place multiple containers in different areas of your incubator, and now you will have a better idea of the consistency of airflow and temperature in your incubator. So I never rely upon just the incubator. I always have a checks and balances system.
Devontae says, how do I tell if my gecko is crossed with a Max Snow? What are the keys to look for?
So that's a good question. It's really easy to tell a snow as a baby. So snow babies are some of the most amazing looking babies that you'll ever see. They're pure, their white is pure white. So when a snow baby hatches out, it's pure white and black. As that baby grows, the white is going to become it's going to take on a little bit more color. It's going to take on some yellow, sometimes a little bit of orange. The black banding will become purple a little bit. So it does go through some color changes. But that's why you want to know the signs of what to look for. And so if you look at Max Snow Leopard geckos, anytime you're confused about a morph, look up the morph on Google and see what other photographs you can match so that you can look for little cues. You can also use a site called leopardgeckowiki.com. They have great explanations of what traits to look for inside of different mutations of leopard geckos. I would also get in touch with the breeder that you like and that you trust and send pictures to that breeder to get their opinion on it. If you have parental information of the geckos, that's great. If you don't, that's okay. The breeder can take his best shot in the dark of what the gecko looks like based on any signs or any little traits that the leopard gecko breeder can see. Snow is fairly easy to tell, and I say that with a grain of salt because recently myself as well as a couple other breeders have run into a situation where their gecko was snow but it didn't look snow. However, most of the time snow is very easy to tell. A snow leopard gecko is going to be whiter on average than a regular leopard gecko. The black pigment will be more purple, and it will have less yellow and orange coloration to it than a regular leopard gecko. Whoa.
Did I skip yeah, I did. I skipped a question. I'm sorry, Jaylee, about your dog. Dog was less than 2 years, and he was an American pocket bull, I guess.
Oh, bulldog?
Bully, I guess that's short for bulldog.
Yeah, that's sad. I definitely feel for you. You know, take your time to grieve. I mean, losing an animal is tough. Even, you know, a reptile is not as like much as a reptiles are often thought to be not as much companions as like dogs or cats, but it's still painful to lose a reptile and whatnot, and so you know we don't keep too many dogs or we don't keep too many mammals, but when we do lose reptiles, it is sad, right? Whitney knows when I foolishly and ignorantly killed our sailfin dragon by leaving it outside one night when it was too cold. I beat myself up for a long time about that, and you know, finding a dead animal is never fun. So sorry, Jay Lee.
Jordan says, "Can I pair one female to multiple different males throughout the season?"
That's a great question. If you look on my Instagram, YouTube Shorts, TikTok, or Facebook, I recently just posted proof that more than one male can fertilize or sire a clutch inside of a female. Let me show you what I mean by that. So I received a female from somebody that was at the beginning of the season bred to a super snow leopard gecko. It was a super snow female bred to a super snow male. The first two, as soon as I got that gecko into my possession, I bred our pure black knight male to that super snow female. The first two babies were both super snows. They were fathered. The first clutch, the first siblings, were fathered by the super snow. The second clutch, both babies were fathered by the black knight. So this leopard gecko now has sperm inside of her body from the black knight male and the super snow male. And every clutch, she is alternating that sperm. I need to get the charger real quick. It's so scary. Are you reading your book? You're amazing. I don't know how you do that. Women are great multitaskers. Men are not. We like to focus on one thing at a time. But Whitney's doing 5 things over here. Where did I leave off?
The pairing with multiple males.
Yeah, multiple sperms inside of a female. So the third clutch that this super snow female laid, the third clutch, one of the babies was fathered by the super snow because it became a super snow. The other baby was fathered by the black knight because it was just a regular snow with dark contrast. So it's proof of the fact that when the female's body is fertilizing these eggs inside of her, she is pulling from a sperm reservoir. And she might pull one sperm from one male and another sperm from another male. And each of those babies, each of those eggs can become babies that are genetically follow either father that happened to breed with the female that year.
Wow. Lots and lots of questions.
Yes, because I'm talking so long.
Anira says, "How old is the Black Knight?" I guess the baby.
The Black Knight I just showed was about a month and a half or 2 months old.
Brenda says, "What about trying to feed crickets if you squish them first? I found that if I squish them and offer the juice, of the crickets, the geckos will eat them.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point. There's many different ways to skin a cat. That's a horrible saying. I don't know why they say that. But there's many different ways to skin a cat, as they say, right? I'm only speaking from my experience. But yeah, if you pre-kill insects or slow them down, or put the juice of the insect around the gecko's mouth, that might do something, but it might not. And again, I come back to and I know that worked for you, so that's no problem. But I come back to the whole stress incident. If you have a very malnourished gecko that's already stressed out, if you're holding the gecko and then pushing food up to its face and everything like that, you might put more stress on that animal. And when reptiles go into stress, they don't eat. You know how girls or guys that get broken up with, they sulk and they play video games or they watch movies or they eat a tub of ice cream? You eat when you're stressed as a human being. But reptiles are not so. If you stress out a reptile, that reptile is going to go into stress out mode. Stress out mode could make that gecko more standoffish to food. So that's why I say sometimes the best remedy is providing the gecko everything it needs, all the food on the floor of its tub, a little humid hide, a shallow water dish, and then locking that gecko and putting it away for 2 to 3 days and not bothering it. The more you bother it, the higher chances that gecko is going to keep getting stressed out. The less you bother it, the higher chances that gecko is going to settle into its environment, feel comfortable, be less stressed, and its feeding instincts are going to start kicking back in instead of its fear or stress instincts. Okay? Hope that makes sense.
Apex Gecko says, how much do the Black Knights cost? Will I be able to afford one without 10 years of saving?
So right now, the current market value of Black Knight crosses, a pure Black Knight to a non-Black Knight, you're looking at about $500. A pure Black Knight to a pure Black Knight, you're looking at anywhere between $1,000 to $2,000 as a baby, depending on how black that baby is and how much saturation it's showing. As that animal gets older, the price is going to go up for that animal because now it's getting closer to being a breeder. So you might find adult Black Knight leopard geckos anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000 right now, depending on the quality of blackness. I'm going to pee real quick.
All right. And back to our live stream after this commercial break. And I'm eating my spicy, healthy Takis. I went to Trader Joe's and I got their version of Takis.
Hi, Effie. What did you say, hon?
I was talking about Takis.
Really? On a leopard gecko live?
Yeah, I went to Trader Joe's and I got healthy Takis.
I thought you're done eating those. I thought you said you didn't like them. So I started eating them.
No, I love them. I just choked on one of them. That's what happened.
Yeah, and then you put it away and you said, I can't eat these.
In that moment when I couldn't breathe.
Well, you should have specified. You'd be back to eat them.
I couldn't breathe, so I couldn't talk. All right. Brenda says, if you had a wish list for a leopard gecko, what would it be? So maybe if you could get any leopard gecko in the world.
Oh, Brenda, you're talking my language now. The language of possibilities. Whitney knows this language.
Not any reptile hunt. A leopard gecko.
Yeah, no, I got something in mind already. So.
Not a lychee.
I told my wife I want to get a lychee recently. I'm like, I need $1,000 and it's not going to make us any money. She's like, maybe you shouldn't do that. But that's putting it nicely. So, that's a great question. I love that. Again, I'm going to give him a shout out because I think he's doing great stuff and he's producing some great conversations in the leopard gecko hobby, bringing people more together. I actually don't know the guy's first name, but Palmetto, Palmetto, Palmetto State Geckos. He has an interview with Jeff from JMG Geckos or JMG Reptiles. He's a great company. And he also has an interview with Echo Geckos. So check out his YouTube channel. He's brand new at YouTube. He only has like 78 subscribers. So if you want a cool channel to follow, a guy that does a lot of podcasts and live streams with reputable breeders, again, Palmetto State Geckos. Now, he was talking with Echo Geckos about something that came back to my attention. I saw this gecko a long time ago, and I just forgot about it. I think I even messaged the owner, and the owner didn't get back to me. But in Europe right now, there is a scaleless leopard gecko called the satin. If you want to look more into that, you can look at Exclusive Geckos Facebook group. Whitney doesn't like it. You don't like it?
I don't like scaleless.
She doesn't like scaleless. So, yeah, not everyone likes scaleless, and sometimes there's problem with scaleless reptiles. But scaleless reptiles tend to be more colorful than regular reptiles because they don't have the scales to filter out some of that lighting. They also tend to have more shedding issues, sometimes reproductivity issues, blah, blah, blah. The list goes on, right? But this guy is at the very forefront of working with the scaleless leopard gecko. And I'm calling it scaleless. I think they said it still has scales, but it's like a reduced layer. It's a reduced thickness, something like that. Again, this guy's in Europe. There's not that much information about it just out there just yet. But that, I would love to mess around with the scaleless project.
It's like a hairless cat. It just doesn't work.
It's nothing like a hairless cat.
Yeah, it is.
A cat that is hairless. Okay, it's kind of like a hairless cat. So it's called the satin leopard gecko. You can find pictures of it on Google. So there's that, number one. Let's see, what else would I do? Number two, of course, I would like to import some of the darkest black knights from Echo Gecko and from Ferry in the Netherlands, the guy that came up with the Black Knight. I'd love to do that. And number three, I would love to find the most reddish orange tangerines and bring them into our collection. Some people on my radar right now for that is, well, first of all, I got to give a shout out to Scaled Art Reptiles. The guy that we got Magma from, I think Magma is amazing and he's great. But I also want to experiment with some other companies, such as the Urban Gecko, such as Barry Gardner from Only Tangerines, Only Tangs, and such as, I don't know his name, but his company is called Gecko Daddy. I would love to bring in some high-quality tangerine lines from those guys that have been working leopard geckos for many, many years and add them to our leopard gecko traits and lines that we got going on here. So, high-quality tangerines, reddish-orange tangerines, super high-quality black knights, and the satin leopard gecko. Those are things that I'm always looking for, you know? Now, we're doing some pretty cool black knight stuff over here ourselves. We have a bunch of pure black knights that we're breeding back to each other. It's just going to take a little bit of time to develop the numbers and sales and whatnot, but we actually should be selling some high-quality black knights next year. And I'm really excited for our tangerine lines next year, especially as Magma and one of our other leopard gecko males that's super high quality as well make it into breeding for 2022. So stay tuned.
All right.
And I want a lychee.
She asked about leopard geckos.
Hun, I heard the word gecko, okay? I heard the word gecko. A lychee is a gecko. There's no reason why I can't get a lychee.
Okay, moving on.
Lychee!
She says, have you heard of white knights?
Yes. White Knight, to my knowledge, is a radar blizzard. So instead of a Diablo Blanco, which is a Tremper Eclipse blizzard, you have a Bell Eclipse blizzard, and I believe that that's called the White Knight. It's essentially the same thing as a Diablo Blanco, but some people argue that the Bell gene creates a wider contrast than the Tremper gene. I don't have enough experience seeing the geckos in person and having a large number of geckos to show, and that is key. Here's what a lot of people don't realize is you might see a Bell tangerine leopard gecko that looks to die for. It might look amazing, and you think to yourself, wow, all Bell tangerines must look amazing. But no, it's all about variance. There's a lot of variance when breeding reptiles. The Tremper gene, a lot of people are like, oh, well, the Tremper gene is older, and Bell is like proving itself to be like a higher competitor against the Tremper gene. Well, I would beg to argue a little bit differently. The Tremper gene has been around longer, and so therefore there are many more lines of Tremper and many more years of selective breeding, and so you might get better quality from the Tremper gene. I've seen Bell leopard geckos that look fantastic. I've seen Tremper leopard geckos that look fantastic. I've seen Bell leopard geckos that don't look good. I've seen Tremper leopard geckos that don't look good. So does the difference between Tremper and Bell, is it enough to where you can conclusively say, oh, Bell is always better? No. Sometimes Tremper is going to be better. Other times, Bell is going to be better. And it's the same thing with the White Knight versus the Diablo Blanco. You might have some White Knights that look great, but you might have some Diablo Blancos that look fantastic. It's all about variance inside of the leopard geckos and the possibilities. So, until I see in front of my eyes visually a large amount of Bells compared to a large amount of Trempers, and Bell every single time is coming on top, then I'm not going to give up I'm not going to give up my current stance or my current belief on the fact that both lines have the ability to produce some insane, very, very credible stuff. It's just that either one can produce incredible stuff, and so sometimes people will take a picture and be like, oh, look, this is a Bell tangerine, it's amazing. And they'll be like, this is so much better than Tremper. But I could find a whole bunch of Tremper pictures that are just as good, if not better, than that Bell picture that the person is very excited about. So I hope that makes sense.
Oh, you done?
Mm-hmm. I'm done with my rant, hon.
Okay.
Yes.
OJH says, is it okay to breed different snows together?
I'm going to train Whitney to answer so that she can just answer for me while I go sometimes. Yes, you can breed different snows together, but here's the kicker. When the babies pop out, you are probably not going to know which snow is which. Again, it comes down to variance. There's a ton of people that are like, oh, Gem Snow is so great. Tug Snow is so great. Way better than Max Snow. I disagree. Max Snow has a super form. Tug and Gem don't have a super form. You can mix two Max Snows together, get a Super Snow, and it looks completely different than when you mix a Gem and a Tug, a Gem or a Tug, likewise, together. But here's the thing. Yes, the snow lines are a little bit different. A Gem or a Tug Snow, might produce sometimes a little bit of a different contrast than a max snow, but other times it's going to produce the exact same contrast as a max snow. It's all about genetic variance. And so, to get back to your question, can you mix them? The answer is yes. There's nothing wrong with that technically. But the problem is, when the babies pop out, you will have a difficult time knowing which babies are gem, which babies are tug, which babies are mac. And that's the problem. You'll have a difficult time telling which is which. And the people, I got a little trick here. I love being a little bit controversial sometimes, or like bringing up not the hypocrisy, but bringing up the hypocrisy and controversy sometimes. Some people are like, oh, you can absolutely tell a gem snow from a max snow. Oh, you can absolutely tell a tug snow from a max snow. Okay, then why do you recommend not breeding a max snow to a tug snow? If you can automatically tell the difference between a gem snow and a max snow, and a gem snow is that much better, then you shouldn't have a problem with breeding a max snow to a gem snow, or a max snow to a tug snow. That shouldn't be an issue in your head if you think that gem snow and max snow are always, gem snow and tug snow are always better than max snow. And if you will agree that gem snow and tug snow are not always better than max snow and not always distinguishable from max snow, then that supports my argument of saying that I think if you had to choose, I think max snow is the better way to go, because there's more to do with it genetically. You could breed a max snow to a max snow and get a super snow. You could breed a max snow to a tangerine and get a snow tangerine. You could breed a max snow to a bold stripe and get a snow bold stripe. Or, you can do all that. Yes, you could do the same with gem and tug, but there's no super form. So, that again, I'm just speaking my mind and different arguments that people have in the community,
Apex says, do you know what gecko he wants to see next? Like, can you read his mind?
Honeydew.
Honeydew?
Yes.
Oh, that's the name of a specific gecko?
Yeah, Brooke named the gecko Honeydew. Or cantaloupe. Is it honeydew or cantaloupe?
Yes, he said honeydew.
Here's honeydew.
Oh, it jumped out.
Geckos be jumping. So here's honeydew compared to our hyper-exantic bold leper gecko.
I don't know why it's called honeydew, because honeydews are green.
Yeah, I don't know. It does have a little bit of green pigment to it and everything.
Yeah.
Again, the lighting in here is yellow, so anytime you see an animal, it's going to have yellow hues to it because the lighting above me is yellow. But when we move into a new facility, I would like to get white lights across the top. That way, the true color of the animals that I'm showing will show more easily in the videos.
White lights? You mean like fluorescent?
Yeah, like, my light box?
Uh-huh.
My light box uses white light compared to yellow light. So when you look at that light, that's called warm. It has a yellowish hue to it. And therefore, it projects that yellow coloration on everything in the room. So the orange leper geckos on camera, they appear lighter or less orange than they are in reality.
Hey, Gemma. First time she's watching a live stream, I guess. She's from Holland, and it's
Wow.
5 a.m. there.
That's real. What are you doing up at 5 a.m.? Did you just get back from a night on the town with the friends? No, that's great. Again, I've said it many times. I really love coming in contact with keepers in the hobby from all parts of the world. And we have a lot of Asian followers. We have a lot of European followers. It's really cool stuff. So welcome. Glad to have you. And I hope that maybe you're just getting up instead of just about to go to bed. But have a great day if you are.
Ty says, how much substrate do you put in the lay boxes?
What a great question, Ty, because I'm just changing out this one right here because the gecko pooed in it. And when the gecko poos in it to a high amount, I wash it and then I bring back some, I put the dirt in it. So I'm going to come back right now and I'll show you how much dirt I put in it. Yes, baby.
Oh, OJH gave $20.
What? Congratulations. Let's shout that man out. I think he donated the other night, too. So what's his name?
OJH.
OJH.
He says,
thank you so much.
Doesn't Mac X Tug and Mac X Gem equals Super Snow?
Yeah, so I have heard that a Mac times a Tug or a Mac times a Gem gives you a Super Snow. I haven't seen any proof of that before my very eyes because, again, I don't work with Gem and I don't work with Tug. But I've heard that, you know, one or the other does. Either the Tug does or the Gem does. Maybe they both do. I just don't have enough personal experience to guarantee you that it absolutely does. But I will say this. I have heard breeders talk about it doing that. But I haven't seen I'd have to look up on Google like pictures and stuff. And even then you're trusting in the word of somebody else. And people don't always tell the truth, right? So it's almost like until I've seen enough of it, or until it's commonly accepted and spoken about by a lot of people, I won't accept it as complete truth. I'll leave it up as a possibility. So there is a possibility that Max Snow crossed with a Tug or a Gem will produce a Super Snow. I just haven't seen enough proof that is the truth. But I have heard of it. So I will say that. What was I going to say? But yeah, you can try to... So Tug Snow was created by the urban gecko. T-U-G, the urban gecko, out of Canada. You can message the urban gecko and be like, hey, does your Tug Snow create Super Snows when bred with a Max Snow? And right there, you're going directly to the source of where the Tug Snow came from. And then whoever created the Gem Snow, I would try to do a little bit of research to find out who created the Gem Snow and go directly to the source and be like, hey, does your Gem Snow mixed with the Max Snow create a Super Snow? Now, even if it does, in either one of those scenarios, you still won't know which babies have the single copy Snow and the single copy Gem and the single copy Max Snow. So that's just something I just have to mention just for people. But thank you so much for that donation. Really appreciate that, man. Man or woman, whoever you might be, whatever you might be.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. So
Yeah, Whitney really appreciates it. That way we can buy a lychee. All donations tonight are going to the lychee fund.
No, they're not. They're going to food and supplies and everything that keeps us and the reptiles alive.
Okay, fine. They're going to that.
They're not going
No lychee fund?
to a useless
Okay,
aspect.
so check this. A what? Useless asset?
Uh-huh.
How dare you? So on Mutation Creations YouTube channel, some of you guys might know Mutation Creation. He actually does a live stream on Monday nights as well. He's a big ball python breeder, 50,000 followers. So he has a couple employees that have this funny jet fund that people donate to. And they say that they're saving up for a jet so they could fly their reptiles around the country and drop them off to people personally, right? And it would just be super cool to have a reptile jet. So they have this super chat thing called the Jet Fund. And sometimes people will super chat and be like, hey, this money is meant to go towards the Jet Fund. So all I'm saying is maybe we can come up with some funds of our own over here to bring us some animals that you guys want to see. And we can have a lychee fund, a Leachianus gecko fund. We could have a urban gecko fund, okay? If you guys want to see me purchase a high quality reptile from the urban gecko, then send us a super chat that has attached to it, this is for the urban gecko fund. And we'll start keeping track of all of those funds. And when those funds get to the limit of what we need to purchase that animal, we'll purchase the animal, do an unboxing, and show you the quality of that animal compared to the pictures of that animal. That sounds like a really fun idea. We could have a lychee fund. We could have an urban gecko fund. We could have a gecko daddy fund. So drop some ideas for some funds that you guys want to have. Or how about the gecko mobile? We could have a gecko mobile fund. No, but really appreciate the donation, my man. And every one of your hard-earned dollars goes to work over here to help us push this business forward, enhance our collection, support the current collection that we have. So thank you so much.
Did you already answer the question how much substrate you put in your lay box?
No, I did not. I put about a half an inch of substrate in the lay box for animals that are not breeding. If a female is breeding, I will put about 3/4 of an inch to a full inch of Eco Earth in her container. If she's in, let me just show you. So, if a leopard gecko female, an adult female, is in one of these 5-cup Tupperwares, I will fill it about 1/3 of the way to about halfway. If a leopard gecko is in one of these 3-cup containers, as you can see, I only fill it about a half an inch to an inch. It's still about 1/3 or halfway up, okay? So regardless of what size container you use, here's an easy way to monitor it. Fill it up 1/3 of the way or half of the way, and you're good. Unless you're using like a giant thing, then you might, you might not want to fill it up that much.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Gemma is a nurse, and she just got back from work, and she chooses to use her time watching us because she loves learning all the information.
Wow, that's really great. Gemma, if you missed the beginning of this live stream, we covered some really great topics. People were asking some really great questions. The thing that I love about having Whitney here tonight, and I'm going to have to try to implore her to do this more often. Maybe we could have a Whitney fund, right? We could donate to Whitney being here. But the reason I like having Whitney here is because
we don't have to do that.
when Whitney is not here, it's really difficult for me to take care of the animal, clean the animal, read the screen, talk about the questions. But when Whitney is here, she could read the questions for me, keep track of all of that, and I can show you animals and talk about it. So that's why it's going so much easier today and smoother, and there's less downtime, and I'm really, really digging it.
Miko, I assume you're saying what are your thoughts on keeping various species? I assume that's what you're saying.
I love various species, Nico. That's why we have a Leachianus fund in our super chats live right now. So that since Whitney won't allow me to spend our hard-earned money to buy a Leachianus gecko right now, we can have a Leechy fund if you guys want to see us buy a Leechy and do a review on it.
Oh, no, my bad. Varanus, like Asian water monitor.
Oh, okay. I need to watch this and be back. That's a whole...
Sorry, Miko.
Whole nother topic.
You know that there's a very easy...
It's called Varanus. Just kidding.
I don't want to say that word. It's very easy to make typos, so I never know. But okay, got it cleared up. Thank you.
Yeah, so the scientific... Whoa, look at these guys. You gotta let me know they're making an escape.
Well, so I was watching the comments.
Just kidding. The scientific name for the Asian water monitor is like Varanus salvadorii or something like that, right? There's a few different species. Asian water monitors are pretty cheap. You can get them generally for about $50 or $60 sometimes, and they're pretty small as babies. Now, that being said, they get gigantic. And when you have a gigantic reptile, you have to worry about being bitten by that reptile, smacked by that reptile. You have to worry about the amount of food that it takes to feed that reptile, and of course, the amount of space that it takes to house that reptile. So, what is the problem, if any, with Varanus salvadorii, the water monitor? The problem with the Asian water monitor is that it can get 6 to 8 feet long, especially if it's a female, and it only costs $60 at the pet store.
What?
So, yeah. Same with the Nile Monitor. Nile Monitors get gigantic too, and they're very, very cheap as well. The reason they're so cheap is because they are imported in the masses by wholesale distributor reptile companies for pennies on the dollar, and then they make a profit by selling it to you for 50 or 60 bucks. So, they don't care that you're unaware of how big this animal is going to get and what you're going to do with it. But there's a lot of people that by the time this animal gets 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, people are freaking out because they're not that tame, number one. They're crazy. They'll bite you. They'll rip you up. And number two, the amount of food that it takes to maintain that animal and the amount of space that it takes to maintain that animal is a ridiculous responsibility. And so people wind up selling them, giving them away, or donating them to like reptile sanctuaries, right? So that's my thought on the Asian water monitor. If you have enough space to keep an Asian water monitor and enough finances to support an Asian water monitor and do it right, it makes a fantastic pet. Asian water monitors, you can look up Nerd Reptile Company, New England Reptile Distributors. He is a socializer of Asian water monitors and other gigantic monitor species and big snake species. They have some great videos on YouTube about how to socialize your 8-foot lizard. It's crazy. And this guy is amazing. So Nerd is the name of his company. You'll find his videos everywhere as soon as you type that in. You could just type in Nerd Water Monitor Socialization and you will find a whole bunch of videos. They make great pets. They are so smart. I would rather recommend to you a Tegus before you get a water monitor because they're just as smart, but they don't get as big.
Alrighty.
You have to say, Frank, are you done with your rant? The Frank rant. Oh, beautiful. Look at this creamsicle right here. Creamy gecko. Creamsicle girl. She is, I believe let me see if she is Eclipse. No, she's not really proving Eclipse, but she kind of has that look to her. I think she's white and yellow, Tremper. She comes from bold lines, but she just has some fantastic color and like creaminess to her. She's awesome. Tail, really white. What time is it?
8:45.
Oh, okay. We'll do another 15 minutes, guys, so make sure you get your questions now for Whitney to read.
Yeah, thank you so much, OJH, for your donation. He says he loves what we do. Thanks for all the content and hopes we get that Lychee.
Yes, Lychee Fund!
Living the dream through us.
And I appreciate that. That's so fantastic for your support. Any little bit counts, right? And believe it or not, if we get, I mean, lychees are fairly expensive, right? But if you get like 20 or 30 people to give like $10, there's a lychee right there, you know? And I love lychees. I'm going to eventually get one. I just can't get approval right now by the boss to purchase one.
Not with our own money.
No, but eventually we will be getting one. You know what I mean? I just thought it was kind of a fun idea to come up with some cool, focused, specific donations ideas that we could do. And I'm going to keep promoting that and see what you guys think about that. But every donation that you guys give to us goes towards the bottom line of us growing this operation, supporting this operation. You know, it takes food, all the wood and the material that it takes to build everything, the heat tape, the time that I put in, the other species that we're working with. There's so much that goes into it, and everything that you give us helps dramatically. But I would like to get some really cool specific donation ideas going, because I think people would really like that, right? So Mutation Creation, they have their jet fund. People actually donate specifically to the jet fund for them to save up for $1 billion jet or a $500 million jet, right?
Hey, why don't we make this into a jet fund instead of a lychee fund?
Why, you want a jet?
Of course, who doesn't want a private jet?
I thought you were meek and meager.
I love traveling.
Oh,
I want
Whitney.
to go anywhere I want to go.
Okay, Whitney wants...
Wait. But it can be a 2-in-1 because wherever I go, you can come with me and sell our reptile.
Yeah, that would be really cool. If we could personally fly and deliver a reptile to you, wouldn't that be great?
Mm-hmm.
I have to look into that, but...
Then we could, like, go out to dinner.
With a jet?
Have some... No, with
Oh,
our customers.
You know I get motion sick.
You're gonna be, like, laying down on a couch or in a bed.
That's true.
In our fancy private jet. We'll have our own bedroom.
When I go on a plane, I need to close my eyes the whole time, right? I can't open my eyes.
No, Gemma, we have never kept venomous snakes. We will never, ever keep venomous animals. It's just not safe. We just really don't have a passion. I mean, obviously, if they're safe for you, then you know how to deal with them, and you know, that's what you're comfortable with. That's fine. But you know, we don't have a passion for them, and we want kids someday. And
wait, what don't I have a passion for?
Venomous.
Oh,
snakes.
yeah, not really.
I
do like scorpions and tarantulas. I'm getting into tarantulas a little bit.
Yeah, that will never happen, ever.
Whitney doesn't want
Ever.
that to. Tarantula fund.
No. Well, Gemma's saying she's had like reptiles for 30 years. She has hog noses, some venomous vipers.
Oh, nice.
And she bought a leopard gecko. Also, there's a lady called Destiny Worship, which is kind of interesting because we used to belong to a church called Destiny Live.
Yeah, that is interesting.
So,
wow,
yeah.
hold on. I got something really cool to show. Look at this animal, guys. Oh, man, it's tough to tell on camera. But this animal is not in shed. It's just naturally this dark. Look how dark. This is not a Black Knight. This is not a Black Knight lineage. It came from a female over here that is a little bit darker, but the darkness of this animal is ridiculous naturally. So I'm going to keep this animal and breed it back to our Black Knight line to just create another line of melanin. And remember, last time we had our live, we talked about what our line of melanin would be called. And I think Brenda recommended the Obsidian line. Now, this gecko was for sale on our website. It was for sale, but I don't think anyone purchased it. And now it's looking really, really dark as well. And I think it's going to make a great Black Knight breeder. And so, but man, look at this. I don't know if you can see that from a distance, but it's almost like gray. The gecko's almost gray. It's crazy. Okay, sorry.
Oh, Destiny, I am so sorry. I bet you get that all the time. Yeah, I thought you were a church, or I'm sorry. Yes, worship is your real name. Well, I guess I kind of get it. My name is Whitney, and people call me Whitney Houston all the time. So, Destiny Worship is her real name. So,
Like,
that's super cool.
First and last name?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and now the gecko's lightening up as we speak. It's pretty cool how that happens.
She says, did you ever cover the incubation part for leopard gecko eggs?
Yeah, so we actually have a video on incubation on our YouTube channel. Just type in Geeky Gecko Creations, leopard gecko egg incubation. We have a 45-minute video that goes over everything you need to know about leopard gecko egg incubation. We also have leopard gecko female ovulation. We have a couple breeding videos showing the males and the females breeding and fighting and different things that can happen because of that. There's a lot of videos that we have specifically, but there is the one video on incubation. And if you need me to share the link with you, just try searching it on YouTube. Geeky Gecko Creations, Leopard Gecko Incubation. You'll probably find it in 2 seconds. But if you don't, message me privately and I'll send it to you.
Well, also, if you go on our YouTube page, it has the list of all the videos.
Yes. But you gotta look through it. You gotta go all the way down.
Yeah.
It's like on the 3rd page because it was so long ago.
Oh my gosh.
Wow, look at this, guys. Look how much this gecko just lightened up right now in front of our very eyes. You can actually see the pattern now. And this gecko lightened up as well. I'm going to watch this back later to see, but crazy. And that's what happens sometimes. I was just talking with someone about this today. The cool thing about leopard geckos, and I'm going to have to do a video on this, there's basically 3 layers of color for a leopard gecko. There's the base color, which is yellow. And that's what we saw on this gecko that was turning brighter and darker right before our very eyes. There's the base color. Then there's a layer of pattern, which could be zigzags, it could be striping, it could be banding. Then there's the layer of spotting. Okay, so there's 3 color palettes, 3 layers to a leopard gecko. Typically, layers 1 and layers 2 can change across the leopard gecko's life, but layer 3 will stay consistent. So if a leopard gecko is born with like dark, heavy black lines, and it's contained in layer 3, those are going to stick. But if the blackness is contained in layer 2, those black lines are going to turn purple, and that purple is going to turn green. There's a lot of different color changes that leopard geckos can go through. Pretty cool. I'm going to have to do some in-depth videos on that in the future.
Miko says hello from the Philippines.
Oh, Miko! Kamusta? Magandang umaga! It's probably morning over there, yeah, so magandang umaga means good morning. But again, Philippines is great. They have a great breeding program in operation over there. So does Malaysia and some of the other European continents that we have. They don't have it as good as us. they can't get animals as easily as us.
That leads me to
like
my
in Europe.
To my next question. Could someone from Holland send us an animal? Send us a lychee.
Ooh.
So Gemma is offering to give us a baby lychee. She just doesn't know how she can send it from Holland.
Wow, that is pretty generous, Jenna. So here's how that works. You have to use a company, or we have to talk. Message me on Facebook or Instagram, and we'll start a communication. I'll probably give you my phone number, and we could talk this whole process out. But we have to get in contact with an importer-exporter called Dutch Dragon Imports. I don't know how far you are from Amsterdam, but Dutch Dragon Imports is in Amsterdam. From Dutch Dragon Imports, they will ship the animal to Florida in the United States. It's one of the states in the USA called Florida. We are all the way on the opposite side of the United States from Florida, but the partners in Florida of Dutch Dragon Imports from Amsterdam, they will ship the animal from Florida to us where we can pick it up. So it's kind of like a piggyback system. Amsterdam, we need to get the gecko to Amsterdam. If we can get the gecko to Amsterdam, we can easily get it shipped into the United States. But it's expensive, and I will need to ask my wife if we could spend the money to pay for shipping, because I wouldn't want to expect that you're going to pay shipping. To ship an animal from Amsterdam to us is probably going to cost somewhere between $150 to $250. That we would be willing to pay for. I'll talk to my wife about it, but that's the process that we would have to go through. So again, please message me privately. What is your Instagram or Facebook name? Because I would love to check out your geckos, give you a follow and a support, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, Gemma, super
that's an amazing, yeah.
You're really, really awesome.
I might not be able to get the approval to spend $200 on shipping right now, but your offer is definitely very well appreciated, and I can talk to Whitney more about it, behind the scenes, and see if it's a good fit for us right now. But man, what an amazing offer, because guys, lychees go for anywhere between $500 to $1,000 or more, depending on their locality. I'm just beginning to get into lychees, but they have many different localities you could get into. But some of the best lychees come out of Europe, so I'm really interested to see what lychees you work with.
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
Oh, look, you're getting Whitney excited.
Well, no, I was gonna say maybe if you want to keep the lychee, and then we can help you and give you information to sell it.
No. We want to get the lychee over here. Give her. She could sell it on her.
Take advantage of her.
She doesn't need our help to sell it. She's just offering to. That's awesome, though. That's an amazing offer. I definitely gotta hopefully talk to you more about that, because I'm definitely very interested. But that's the process when we export too. I got other people that want some geckos over there in Europe. We have to ship to Amsterdam. So if you're in Europe and you can get to Amsterdam, we can ship you a gecko. It's just going to cost somewhere between $200 to $250 for the first gecko. Every animal after that is an additional $65. So if you want 5 animals, you would have to pay the initial $250 of shipping, and then $50 of it's like $60 of shipping for every animal after that, and then the price of every one of those animals. It's a lot of money. But if we're only talking about one animal, it's just one payment of like $265 shipping. We would have to get the exact amount from them, though. But what's her name?
Gemma.
Gemma, what is the locality of your lychee? I'm really interested, because European breeders, from what I can tell, they take a lot of pride in their collection, and they do a really great job of keeping projects isolated and projects pure, and I think that's an awesome trait to have. That's awesome though. She just offered to send us $1,000 animal.
Actually, 2.
2? Oh,
Yeah.
we'll do it. That would be awesome. And I heard that lychees can actually be temperature sexed, like leopard geckos. You can incubate them for male and female. And we would love to breed lychees around here. And it would be really cool to say that we got some lychees imported from the best over there in Holland. So please get in contact with us. I'm interested to talk more to you and see if, this is a good time for us to do that. But that's an amazing offer.
Wow, very, very generous. Yeah, Destiny says her leopard gecko's spots and lines faded. Is that normal? But you answered her question. And then she says, yeah, they probably change when they go older.
Yeah, let me touch on that one more time real quick. Something I need to clarify, because I had someone ask me today. They're like, hey, you got this gecko on your website, and it has 2 stripes going down the side. Why didn't you call that a bold stripe? I called it a jungle, because jungles have wonky pattern. They do different things. Here's why I didn't call it a bold stripe. And this is a great question, a great topic. Again, I just want to stress, there's multiple layers of color to a leopard gecko in the same way that your skin has multiple layers of skin. And each layer adds a different contrast and a different purpose to your overall color and skin tone. So it's the same with leopard geckos. Layer number 1, let's just say hypothetically, layer number 1 is responsible for color. Let's say the gecko's pink, right? Raspberry, like my shirt. Layer number 1 would be pink. This gecko's jumping out over here. Layer number 2 would be pattern, like this, right? Actually, this is a bad example because this is permanent. But layer number 2 would be stripes, zigzags, banding, all of that stuff that appears on a baby, but changes over time. It changes color over time. It changes shape over time. It changes intensity over time. What tends to not change is the actual spotting of the leopard gecko. So let me show you what I mean by that real quick. So this leopard gecko right here, when this leopard gecko was a baby, the only color it showed was this black stripe on the side of its neck, this black stripe, this black spot, and this black stripe on its side right here. See that? All the other pattern that you see on this gecko came later on in the gecko's life. The only pattern that stayed consistent was the dark layer 3 spotting and striping that was going on. All the other layers take shape and change as time goes on. So I hope that makes sense. It's an easy way to think about it. The color of a gecko and the pattern of a gecko is always up to change. The spotting of a gecko comes in strong. It comes in as a baby, and then it continues to intensify into adulthood, and new spots can come in as well. But the old spots that are there, they should stay. If it's part of layer 3, if it's part of layer 1 or 2, it could disappear or it could go away. But if it's part of layer 3 tends to stay and get stronger and stronger as time goes on.
So, Gemma says it's no problem for her to drive to Amsterdam. She definitely wants to get in touch. I don't know anything about lychee geckos. How much time do they take for upkeep? That's my question.
Whitney's concerned about the time because she knows how much time we put in here. They would be the same amount of care and upkeep as a crested gecko or gargoyle gecko.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit more at times because they are bigger, like they grow bigger. So you're going to have bigger poo. You're going to have a bigger cage. But for the most part, they're going to be the same care as a crested gecko or gargoyle gecko.
And what do they eat?
Same food as a crested gecko, gargoyle gecko.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the fruit paste and worms?
The fruit paste, yeah. And you could do some insects too, right?
Okay.
And that's something we could talk to Jenna about is see what kind of diet Gemma? Mm-hmm. What kind of diet she currently has her geckos on. That way we could replicate that as much as possible. Because some leeches, they prefer, and Gemma, correct me if I'm wrong, but some leeches, they prefer the fig diet instead of like the normal Pangea diet or something, you know? So
yeah, but I think I'm definitely supportive of getting 2 leeches.
Yeah. That'd be awesome. Look, this gecko looks like it has mascara on. This is a This is a generation 4 lemon frost Turkmenicus gecko. So it's 94% Turkmenicus. This lemon frost is 94% pure Turkmenicus. And what we're seeing with lemon frosts that are crossed out into wild bloodlines, away from the original problematic bloodline, what we're noticing and what we're seeing is a severe, drastic reduction in any skin tumors or issues like that. So we're going to continue to study the project over here, document it properly so that we could put all of that data up onto the internet, onto YouTube and all our other platforms, so that people can know, does outcrossing work? Does it work completely? Does it work a little bit? And that way the hobby can know moving forward what to expect with these beautiful guys. But here's a quick example of a ghost frost that's a little bit more white, and then this one is a little bit ghosty, but it's less ghost. See that? A big difference in the yellow contrast between this ghost frost over here and this normal Turkmenicus lemon frost. So pretty cool stuff.
Destiny, okay, so we covered this question earlier, but I can say it again. So I also, clean leopard geckos. We don't really change the full substrate unless we need to. So unless there's a lot of mold or unless there's a lot of poo.
The Eco Earth?
Mm-hmm. Actually, I find that, in our room, because we have like cockroaches breeding in our room, I find that wherever there is poo, there's gonna be like little flies, and then they're gonna have their little larvae. So that definitely needs to go out. And then I'll put new substrate in. But yeah, I mean, some of these geckos,
they're really clean, right?
They're really clean. They don't need to have a super humid hide. So, I mean, some of their substrate can be pretty old.
Now, we spray the humid hide every week, and we spray it enough to give it enough humidity to last for the week. But as far as changing it, it doesn't need to be changed unless, it's like dirty, like pooed on or something,
Yeah. I don't know what kind of substrate you're using, Destiny, but we use Eco Earth. So it's made from what, coconut? It's
ground up coconut shell, yeah.
Eco Earth is cocoa fiber. So it's pretty clean. It's biodegradable, recycles everything pretty good.
It covers up smell really nice too.
Yeah. Destiny uses Eco Earth. is a human hide can be used for shedding, also laying. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, it smells beautiful.
Here's an older Frosty Turk, Lemon Frost. I'm not sure which generation this is. It could be generation 1 or it could be generation 4. I would have to look up its genetic code and information. But you can see one of the telltale traits right there, the bright white eyes. Which is pretty amazing. And the black above the eyes, it just makes it look like they have makeup on. Like mascara or something.
Destiny says, she kind of figured her gecko's sex before it showed, and she got them as babies. But she just noticed that the female has a more rounder look to her, while the male looks thinner.
Yeah, that's a great observation. I don't know if we can conclusively say that it's going to be that way every time, but you know, we don't have all the information on leopard geckos. Like the hobby is still growing and expanding. So when you find unique stuff like that, it's great to document that, take note of that, compare it to other examples, and then present some data and talk to people about it. Now it's going to be on my radar to see if I notice that in my females. As of right now, I think the hobby as a whole tends to support the idea that leopard geckos are not sexually dimorphic. And what that means is they look the same from male to female, with the exception of the pores. Examples of sexually dimorphic species are human beings. A male human being looks very different from a female human being, or tends to, right? The long hair for the female, the shorter hair for the male, the muscular body for the male, the more not petite or feminine, but yeah, the more feminine body for the female. And so some species are much more dimorphic, or they show much more differences than other species. Sailfin dragons are a great example of this. Sailfin dragons males have giant sails that go across their back. Females have no sails or little sails. Tegus, the males have giant jaws. The females don't have giant jaws. That's called sexual dimorphism, where there's clear, distinct differences between a male and a female. Leopard geckos, to my knowledge, I think that the hobby has accepted that they are not sexually dimorphic, meaning that a male looks exactly like a female. But you could change all that with your data and information by just simply collecting that and just recording that. So you never know. It's great observation. This hobby is almost 99% observational, right? Because it's not like we have scientists and whatnot like testing out the geckos every single day. Now we kind of do, because of Steve over at Geckos, etc., and his original lemon frost studies, where scientists were taking the genetic code of the lemon frost gecko and comparing it to regular leopard geckos. And now those same scientists are going back and they're taking the genetic code of tangerines and snows and all this other stuff, and they're using all that information. But for the most part, leopard geckos or reptiles as a hobby is 99% observational recording. So.
Oh wow, Destiny, that's so awesome. She wants to send us one of her babies.
Leopard gecko?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's very generous too. What kind of baby is it?
Let me see if she answered this question.
Yeah, we're kind of. You never want to. What's the saying? You never want to kick a gifted horse in the mouth or something like that. I don't know where they came up with that saying. But thank you so much, Destiny, for your offer. As far as leopard geckos go right now, we are pretty filled up in this room. So the only leopard geckos that we're really focusing on or taking in are like different morphs that we think are worth the space in here right now, because we are pretty full. We actually have leopard geckos you can't see off to the side right now, in their own containers, kind of on the floor. You see that? Look how many that is. That's like 20 of them right there, right? So we are pretty stocked up on leopard geckos and not really looking to add too many more leopard geckos at this time. So I don't want to like insult you by telling you that, but I really appreciate your generosity and your offer. As far as the lychee goes, they're kept in a different room. That room is more open and available. But this room that we're in right now with the leopard geckos, we have to be really, really specific and selective with the geckos that we take in, you know. And we might take in some new geckos like Magma and stuff like that, because we really see a lot of genetic potential for what they can offer to the collection. But maybe one day we'll be on the level where we could just like take in any geckos when we do open up like our own facility and stuff. But right now it's just a little bit difficult. But I really thank you for your generosity. It's very, very thoughtful. Any questions, hon?
I was so sorry.
She forgot 10 of your questions.
King Omari, he says, where can I buy a bulk of mealworms for low price from?
Well, it's funny you ask, Omari, because just today I solidified, or at least to my understanding, I solidified a sponsorship with rainbowmealworms.net. I think it's .net or .com. So that's a pretty cool announcement I want to make with you guys too. So you know, we just released our mealworm video. If you have not watched our mealworm video, go check it out. It's pretty cool. For years, guys, for years, I have been going to Rainbow Mealworms because of a couple of reasons. Number one, I think they have the best pricing on all insects. I went to them for crickets, superworms, all that kind of stuff. They tend to specialize in a few different things. Mealworms is obviously one of the things they specialize in. But I think if you're a leopard gecko breeder, I think they have the best prices for mealworms. So their prices are great, number one. But what's better than their prices is their customer service. Their customer service is fast, to the T, by the book. Like they bend over backwards for their customers, and it's fantastic. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a couple things that you need to be aware of when ordering bugs, okay? When you're ordering bugs, if you do not have those bugs held at the post office for delivery, you can't get a live arrival guarantee on those animals, all right? But if you have the animals held at the post office for delivery or at FedEx for delivery, Rainbow Mealworms will 100% of the time back you up if those animals arrive dead, if those bugs arrive dead for whatever reason. And every single time, which was only a few times, that I had dead mealworms because of the heat. We live in Arizona. It's very, very hot. When mealworms are traveling on trucks out here and whatnot, they're in 120 degrees for days, and it's possible they're going to die. If you get those mealworms delivered to your house, there's no refund for you. But if you get it delivered to a post office and those animals arrive dead, you simply message back their customer service team. They ask you for a quick picture showing that the animals are dead, and they refund the money to you right away, no further questions asked. Their customer service team is amazing, and they work very quick and very fast. So I recently reached out to them and said, hey, can I be a sponsor for you guys? I'm always advertising for you guys. We have these little escape-free feeder dishes. As a breeder, I find these to be the best and to be irreplaceable for mealworm dishes. And mealworms cannot escape out of them. It's the perfect height for a baby to get into. It's the perfect height for an adult to get into. So rainbowmealworms.com or .net, I got to check it out. Can you open up a tab and do Rainbow Mealworms, see if it's a .com or .net. But I'm going to start putting their sponsorship promotional stuff into my videos. So really cool. congratulations to you guys and us. We've secured a sponsorship with RainbowMealworms.com, an amazing company. .net. So it's RainbowMealworms.net, an amazing company out of Compton, California, where the best rappers come from. Just kidding. I grew up on the East Coast, so I mean Jay-Z and all those rappers. LL Cool J. I knew there was a problem when my wife didn't know who LL Cool J was. That told me that there's a big age difference between me and my wife. So guess
I know who Jay-Z is.
Guess how many
Snoop Dogg is.
Guess how many year difference there is between Whitney and I, my wife and I. 8 years and 8 days. So we met in college. I went back to college later on. And one day I asked her about, we were talking, I think, about a shark movie. And if you've ever seen Deep Blue Sea, LL Cool J makes an appearance in Deep Blue Sea. And she didn't know who LL Cool J was. And I was like, what? How do you not know who LL Cool J is? He's only the coolest, one of the coolest rappers of the 90s into the 2000s, right? But my wife was just a little baby fetus in the 90s, so anyway.
Yeah, Pokemon says Tupac is from the East Coast. I know who Tupac is.
Yeah,
I know who 50 Cent is.
Yeah, 50 Cent, New York.
Hey, how about this? So, the girl comes to her dad, and she says, "Hey, Dad, can I have some money to go to a 50 Cent concert?" And he says, "Here's $1. Take your sister."
Whitney has these great jokes that she brings up from her 5th graders that she teaches. No, so I don't know if you got the joke, but it's a 50 Cent concert, so the dad gave her $1 to take her sister. If you don't get it,
I think they get it, huh?
Message us if you don't get it in the comments, and I'll reply. But I think that's it, right? We're just about at the time. We're gonna take a break, get some food, and then I'll be back cleaning later on. But it's been really great. Why don't you come over here, huh? Or are there more questions?
So somebody, I don't remember who, somebody had a question about egg binding. Don't we have a video about egg binding?
I don't have a video on egg binding. Egg binding is a real thing, though. I had a girl pass away from egg binding this year. I've also had other... So, okay, let me just... This is it. Last topic we're going to talk about. When a leopard gecko it starts ovulating and it breeds with the male, you will generally see eggs 2 weeks later. Sometimes, if a female has those eggs stuck inside of her, she could lay them 3 or 4 weeks later, and those eggs are still going to be good. She might lay them a month and a half or 2 months later, and the eggs might not be good because now they've sat inside of her body for a long time, and she's been trying to slowly break them down and absorb them back into her body because that's something that females do. So, a girl is supposed to lay at 2 weeks. She can lay at 3 or 4 weeks, and that's generally okay. Anything longer than that, and the eggs are probably not going to be good inside of her anymore, but she could still lay eggs 2 months later, 3 months later, or in the rare case that we had, last year, I had a leopard gecko lay 5 months. It was either 4 or 5 months it held eggs inside of it. After that time, the 2 eggs became 1 gigantic soft egg. Because when a girl cannot pass the eggs out of her body, what her body starts to do is decompose those eggs inside of her. Her body tries to break that egg down, soften it, and reabsorb it into her body, or soften it to the point where she could pass the eggs out of her body. By the time that happens, those eggs are generally no longer good, but that could take 3 to 4 months. What happened with a girl that we had this year, she was not able to pass the eggs no matter what, and she unfortunately died. One of the things that you can do for a girl that's struggling from egg bound, make sure she has fresh water daily, make sure she has fresh food and calcium and vitamin daily, and then also give her a daily warm bath. Now, the warm bath is not something that is proven to work, but in our humanistic understanding, in our go-getter mentality, It gives us something to do, and it potentially has been claimed to work for a couple of people. It's never worked for me. Let me put that out there. It's never worked for me, but it's been claimed to work for other people, so it's worth a shot if you're willing to give it a shot. Warm daily baths, 15 to 20 minutes, fresh drinking water daily, and vitamins and supplements. And make sure she has a dark hide with Eco Earth in that hide, and make sure it's humid so she feels like she has a comfortable place to relax, de-stress, and lay her eggs. I think that's it, right? That was the last question?
Mm-hmm.
All right, why don't you come over here? We can say goodbye to everybody. My voice is shot. My legs aren't shot.
Because you're loud when you talk.
I am loud. I scream. I don't know why I scream. But whenever I'm talking, I just have this urge to scream when I could probably talk okay. Look at the age difference and the height difference. Wait, turn back to back with me real quick. Oh my gosh. There's this funny TikTok where it's like, I'm not tall. I'm only like 5'8", 5'9". But Whitney is 4'11" rounding. So there's this.
No, I'm 5 foot rounding.
There's
I'm
this,
actually 4'11".
There's this funny TikTok where the guy's like, look, he does one of the words like looking for my short wife, and he like walks in the door and he's like looking straight, and she's like standing right here, but he doesn't see her because he's looking straight. Hi. So anyway, I'm glad Whitney was able to attend this with me. Let me know what you thought about having Whitney here and her able to shoot the questions at me so I'm able to answer them faster. It gives a woman perspective on things. We could do cool things like interacting with people and possibly getting a lychee gecko. Thank you for everybody who donated. I see we got like 21 likes on the video. We have 25 people watching right now. We had, 30 or 40 people earlier. You guys are fantastic. The numbers and the rates that we produce on this channel are better than rates of larger channels. It's amazing. I love you guys. Thank you. That's all I can really say. I'm going to get to the rest of the cleaning tonight. I will do more live streams this week if I get the chance. If not, I will see you guys back here next Monday for our usual time at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you need to get in contact with us, Facebook, email, or Instagram, all at geekygeckocreations, and you can find us. Please get in contact with us about the lychee. Definitely really interested about that. Thank you so much for the leopard gecko offer. I think we are a little bit full here on leopard geckos, unless it's like a black night or something. But we're on California time right now. So I say Pacific Standard Time because it's easier for people to know what Pacific Standard Time is compared to Mountain Standard Time. But technically we are in Mountain Standard Time. We're just on Pacific Standard Time right now because Arizona wants to be stubborn and they don't turn their clocks. So anyway, love you guys. Peace. And we'll see you in the next video. Have a geeky gecko great day, guys.